everybody. I hope that you're enjoying the different versions of the gingerbread stories. Today, the one I have for you is called The Gingerbread Baby, and it's by an author named Jan Brett. We're going to get to know a couple of her stories in the Birch Room. So here goes. It's got some really fun pictures. It was cold outside and warm inside. A fine day for gingerbread, Maddie thought. Maddie's mother put the big blue bowl on the table and lit the stove. Maddie took down a worn-looking cookbook with an old-fashioned writing on the cover. He opened up the page to the page that said, Gingerbread Boy. They measured and mixed. Maddie rolled the dough into the shape of the gingerbread boy, and they popped him into the oven. Bake a full 8 minutes, no more, no less. Do not peek, the recipe read. Maddie listened to the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3, 4, 5. Maddie couldn't wait any longer. He opened the oven door to take a peek. Instead of a gingerbread boy, out jumped a gingerbread baby. He pranced around the big blue bowl. I'm the gingerbread baby, fresh from the pan. If you want me, catch me if you can. Maddie's mother reached for the gingerbread baby to put him back into the oven, but he ran all around the kitchen. The door opened and in came Maddie's father. What's that delicious smell? He asked as the gingerbread baby tumbled through his legs and outside into the yard. So he's getting outside. He ran by the tabby cat. She twitched her tail and sprang at him. They rumbled and tumbled, but the gingerbread baby came out on top. He ran toward the garden wall. The dog caught a whiff of the tasty ginger and sniffed along behind him. But the gingerbread baby was halfway up when the dog caught up. He barked and barked as the gingerbread baby climbed over the wall. You see him climbing? Maddie was still inside. He heard his mother and father yelling. He heard a cat meowing and a dog barking. And he heard the gingerbread baby shouting, "Catch me if you can." Maddie opened the worn-looking cookbook for the second time. Meanwhile, the gingerbread baby wheeled on down the path and into the barn. The goats looked up as he somersaulted across their backs. The last one tried to catch him, but the gingerbread baby was too fast. I want to point out a little something. If you take a look at the gingerbread cookie cutters, you see another picture that's a little smaller than the main one. Sometimes, if you pay attention to those pictures, it kind of tells another part of the story, or maybe tells what's going to happen next. Anyway, I just thought I'd point it out. Martha and Madeline were standing by the well when the gingerbread baby stopped to take a drink. They looked at each other and winked. Martha started to talk to him while Madeline tiptoed behind him with the bucket, but they couldn't fool the gingerbread baby. You see how he's climbing into that well? He took a braid from Martha and a braid from Madeline and tied them in a knot and ran down the road. Back at the house, Maddie stirred and mixed and rolled the dough. He shaped it, put it in a pan, and put the pan into the oven. Tick, Tock, tick. 8 long minutes. This time he didn't peek. I will catch him if I can, Maddie said to himself. As he was bouncing along the road, the gingerbread baby saw a farm. There was a wagon just ahead. He jumped in and settled down for the ride next to Mama Pig. The smell of gingerbread was too much for her. She tossed him high in the air, closed her eyes, and opened her mouth. But the gingerbread baby twisted in the air and came down hard on her porky snout. I am the gingerbread baby, too quick for the mother and father, too fast for the cat and the dog, the goats, too clever for Martha and Madeline, too smart for the Mama Pig. Who's left? Catch me if you can. Feeling smug, the gingerbread baby strolled along by himself until he came to a bridge that crossed over the village. Just as he got to the middle, he heard running feet behind him and saw a crowd of villagers ahead of him. The gingerbread baby was trapped. He jumped up onto the railing, backflipped through the air, and landed on a chunk of ice floating down the river. The ice bobbed along with the gingerbread baby, dancing on top and singing in a loud voice, "Look at me, and what do you see? The best gingerbread baby ever," until his feet got cold and he jumped ashore. Who was that watching from behind the trees? It was the fox. Do you remember the fox from the other stories? He crept up behind the gingerbread baby, ready to eat him up, but the fox couldn't help himself. He licked his chops. Smack, smack. The gingerbread baby heard him and ran as fast as he could. Just when the fox was about to catch up, the gingerbread baby saw the milk and cheese man with his can of milk. The perfect hiding place, he thought. He lifted the lid and lowered himself inside. He was so pleased that he sang at the top of his gingerbread voice, "Ha ha, hee hee, you'll never find me. I'm the gingerbread baby. Catch me if you can." The milk and cheese man heard the gingerbread baby's voice. "Who is meddling with my milk?" he shouted, and lifted the lid. But the gingerbread baby was ready. He jumped up and tweaked his nose. Remember how I kind of mentioned some pictures? There's Maddie. It's kind of hard to see, but he's working on something. Now, the milk and cheese man, the fox, the villagers, the Mama Pig, Martha and Madeline, the bleating goats, the barking dog, the meowing cat, the father and the mother were all after the gingerbread baby and getting closer. And he knew it. The brash baby was not as peppy and proud as he had been. He sniffed a familiar smell and followed his nose into the woods. He couldn't believe what he saw. Can you see it? There, in the middle of the clearing, was a gingerbread house, frosted with sugar, covered with candy, and doors with peppermint handles, wide open. The gingerbread baby clapped his hands with glee and ran inside. See who's watching? If you look in the gingerbread cutout. Someone else is watching too. In a tick, tock, tick, everyone arrived in the clearing, but all they found were a few bits of frosting, a peppermint candy, and some crumbs. The father exclaimed, "The gingerbread baby has finally met his match." "I wonder who it was," the mother said. "Let's go home and tell Maddie." Look in this cutout. What is Maddie holding? He's holding the gingerbread house, in case it was hard to see the picture. "Hello, Maddie," his father said when they got home. "We never did catch that gingerbread baby. All we found were some crumbs in the snow." "I see you've been busy," said his mother, looking at the gingerbread house Maddie was holding. Can you see that? "Too bad we never caught that gingerbread baby." "Too bad," said Maddie. Only Maddie could hear a tiny voice from inside the gingerbread house. Are you ready for it? Look who's inside. The voice says, "I'm the gingerbread baby, lucky as can be, to be living in the house that Maddie made for me." So this gingerbread baby didn't get eaten. He got a house for Maddie that he made. It was a long story with a lot of pictures, but I hope that you enjoyed it.